submerged on this fluid. Okay, kung isa-submerge natin. So, the forces on a submerged plane surface can be seen as some kind of ang tawag natin dito is hydrostatic force. Okay. And then, meron pang isang force, of course, the weight of the submerged object. But usually, yung weight ng submerged object ay nire-neglect natin because its weight is considered to be very small as compared to the hydrostatic force that can be exerted on a submerged surface. So, ang pangalawang tanong is, saan yung point of application ng hydrostatic force na ito? No? Okay. Doon sa surface ng water, surface ng object. Okay. So, we can see in here, class, an object consists of a plane surface. So, kung titingnan natin yung auxiliary view ng object na yan, okay, kung halimbawa dito ang mata natin, dito tayo titingin. So, kung halimbawa, ano ba yan? Kung halimbawa nandito ang mata natin, ayan. Yan. Dito tayo tiningin. Ito ang makikita natin. We can see this one. This surface that I'm going to shade it with ito yung makikita natin. The surface that I'm going to shade it with blue. Ayan. Okay. And then viewing along Y, yung y-axis natin yan pababa. Yan naman na makikita natin. Yung parang strip yan. Okay. Now, suppose we have here a plane surface that is being submerged on a free surface, on a submerged into a liquid with a free surface. So pag sinabi natin free surface, we are referring to a surface where there is no pressure acting over this surface, hence the word free surface. No? So, kapag sinabing hindi yan free surface, ay maaaring there is an atmospheric pressure that is acting over that surface. Okay. Acting vertically downward. Now, that black triangle that you can see there, class, is a symbol indicating that the surface is free. So whenever you see that kind of symbol, even without mentioning class, it is understood that the surface is free. So now we have here a plane surface that is submerged, and it is being oriented at an angle of theta with respect to the free surface. So we call this class is angle of inclination. No? And if we're going to locate the centroid of this free surface, locate the centroid of this submerged object, its centroid is also considered to be the geometric center of the surface. So yung point C na yan indicates the centroid of the submerged surface. Now, if we're going to consider an infinitesimal area of dA. So that is such that this can be seen in the drawing as a strip. And this area in here is being, there is a force that's being exerted to this infinitesimal area, a tiny force, an infinitesimal force of dF with a distance of y measured from point O. Okay, so that is y measured from point O. And if by definition class, the pressure on the shaded strip, no, which is a function of its depth, is now equal to the specific weight of the liquid, and that yung depth niya, which is y sine of theta, yun yung nakikita sa figure, y sine of theta, that is the pressure that is on the shaded strip. So if you're going to consider these infinitesimal values, class calculus is a mathematics that deals with infinitesimal values. Pinapaliit natin yung mga value para sa ganon is we can be able to calculate the changes, no? Okay, this is the mathematics of change. So if we're going now to integrate, by definition, class force is equal to pressure times area. So using infinitesimal values, d sub f is equal to P dA. And this force is integrated all over the entire area, as well as the area also, the right side, right equation is also integrated all over the entire area. And substituting now P in terms of lambda y sine theta, we can see that this will be equal to the integral gamma lambda y sine theta d theta. And since ang integral ng df natin is this is a finite integral, the sum of the forces would now become the resultant force. And we call this also force as the hydrostatic force exerted by the liquid onto the submerged surface, which is equal now to integral of gamma of lambda y sine theta d theta. And if we're going to, since there are constants here, like gamma and sine theta, we can bring that out of the integrand and integrate y dA. Now, there is a name for this expression, integral of y dA. We call this class the first moment of an area with respect to x-axis. First moment of an area with respect to x-axis. It is a measure of the moment of an area when it rotates. This is the measure of the tendency of the area to rotate about x-axis. Yung sinasabi kong x-axis is pointing towards you if you are now viewing this screen. No? Okay. X-axis is pointing towards me. I'm now viewing this screen and it's pointing towards me. Now, further, makikita natin na y sub c dyan, sa figure na yan, is the distance between O and the center of the centroid of the area measured along y. Okay. And ang vertical distance naman from the surface, okay, up to point C is HC. HC naman yan. Okay. So HC. So importante yung mga distance yan. And this y sub c, which now locates the centroid of an area, is given by the equation 1 all over A integral of y dA. No? So take note, class, that yung y dA natin, okay, yung YC times A natin, YC times the area is also equal to integral of YdA. So that if we're going to substitute that in the above mentioned equation, we can see that the resultant hydrostatic force is now equal to lambda y sub c A sine theta. But geometrically or trigonometrically, h sub c is also equal to yc sine of theta. We can see in this figure class. Yeah. So that simplifying further the equation, the resultant hydrostatic force is a product of three quantities. We have the specific weight, symbolized as lambda. We have the vertical distance from surface to the centroid, C, and we have the surface area of the submerged object. No? Yung lambda natin is Newton per cubic meter, and yung HC natin in meter, and yung area natin in meter square, using the SI units. So this is one of the most important formula in fluid statics. Fluid statics. So whenever an object is being submerged on a liquid, we expect that there is what we call a hydrostatic force that is exerted on the surface of the submerged object. Now, the next question that can be asked is, where does this hydrostatic force acts? Anong point? Saan? Saan siya mag-a-act? Okay. Now, take note, class, that if the surface is vertical, nakatayo yung surface natin, remember, class, that y is equal to h, and yung theta natin is equal to 90 degrees. And kung horizontal naman, okay, ganon din, y is equal to h. And yung theta natin is 0. So in both cases, this hydrostatic force formula can be simplified as F sub R is equal to pressure times area. Okay, pressure times area. Okay, so tandaan nyo yung class, ano? Pressure times area. Okay. Ang topic kasi natin is inclined. Yung sketch natin is inclined, no? Okay. Now,